Welcome back to Life Sanctuary, the place where we share stories that touch the heart and remind us that justice always finds a way. It is so good to have you here with me today for a story that really makes you think about how we treat one another. Before we step into today's emotional journey, I have a small favor to ask of our wonderful community. If you believe that everyone deserves respect, no matter what they wear or how they look, please take a moment to click the subscribe button and like this video. It helps us share these important messages with the world, and I truly appreciate your support. Now, let us settle in, take a deep breath, and begin our story. The rain was coming down hard that Tuesday morning in Seattle. It was the kind of cold, gray rain that seeps into your bones and makes you want to stay indoors with a warm cup of tea. But inside the showroom of Prestige Motors, the weather did not matter at all. Inside, the air was perfectly conditioned, smelling of expensive leather, tire rubber, and expensive cologne. The floor was made of polished white marble that shone so brightly you could see your reflection in it. Every car on the lot was a masterpiece of engineering, costing more than most people earn in 3 years. There were sleek sports cars in cherry red, massive luxury SUVs in midnight black, and heavy-duty trucks built for power and comfort. Standing behind the front desk was Chad, the dealership's top sales manager. Chad was 28 years old, and he made sure everyone knew how successful he was. He wore a suit that was tailored to fit him perfectly, and a gold watch that glistened under the showroom lights. Chad was handsome, but there was a sharpness to his eyes that made him look cruel. He spent most of his time checking his reflection in the windows or yelling at the junior staff for leaving fingerprints on the desks. To Chad, image was everything. He believed that money was the only thing that made a person valuable. If you did not drive a nice car or wear a designer suit, you were invisible to him. Or worse, you were a nuisance. The automatic glass doors slid open with a soft whoosh, letting in a gust of cold, damp wind. Chad looked up from his tablet, ready to put on his fake, charming smile for a potential customer. But his smile vanished instantly when he saw who had walked in. Standing on the pristine white marble mat was an old man who looked like he had seen better days. This was John. John was 75 years old, with a face full of deep wrinkles and a gray beard that looked a bit untamed. He was wearing an old, olive-drab army jacket that was frayed at the cuffs and stained with oil. Underneath, he wore a flannel shirt that had faded from years of washing. His boots were muddy, heavy work boots that left a small, wet footprint on the edge of the mat. He held a worn-out baseball cap in his hands, twisting it nervously. John looked around the showroom with wide eyes, taking in the shiny vehicles. He did not look like the typical clientele of Prestige Motors. To Chad, John looked like a homeless drifter looking for a place to get out of the rain. Chad let out a loud, dramatic sigh and stepped out from behind his podium. He signaled to the receptionist, a kind young woman named Sarah, to stay seated. "I will handle this trash," Chad muttered under his breath, though Sarah heard him clearly. Chad walked across the showroom floor, his expensive Italian shoes clicking sharply against the marble. He did not walk with a welcoming posture, he walked with his chest puffed out, like a bouncer at a club. John was standing next to a beautiful, pearl-white pickup truck, admiring the height of the tires. He reached out a rough, calloused hand to gently touch the side mirror. "Hey!" Chad shouted, his voice echoing off the high ceilings. John jumped a little, startled by the sudden noise. He turned around slowly, his movements stiff from the cold and old age. "Don't touch the merchandise," Chad snapped, closing the distance between them. John blinked, confused by the aggression. "I am sorry, son," John said, his voice raspy and deep. "I was just looking at the specifications on the sticker." "I am not your son," Chad replied coldly, crossing his arms over his chest. "And you are not looking to buy. You are looking to dirty up my showroom." Chad looked John up and down with a look of pure disgust. He stared pointedly at John's muddy boots and the old army jacket. "This is a place of business," Chad continued, his tone dripping with arrogance. "Not a homeless shelter. The soup kitchen is 3 blocks down that way." John straightened his back slightly. Despite his ragged clothes, there was a certain strength in his posture. "I know where the soup kitchen is," John said calmly. "I volunteer there on Sundays. But today, I am here to buy a truck." Chad laughed. It was a loud, mocking laugh that was meant to humiliate the old man. "You? Buy a truck here?" Chad asked, looking around as if waiting for an invisible audience to join in the joke. "Pop, the tires on this truck cost more than your entire wardrobe," Chad sneered. "I need something reliable for my farm," John explained, ignoring the insult. "My old truck finally gave out after 300,000 miles. I heard this place has the best heavy-duty engines." "We do have the best," Chad said, stepping into John's personal space. "For people who can afford them. We do not do financing for people with no credit and no address." "I have an address," John said, his voice remaining steady. "And I intend to pay in cash." Chad rolled his eyes. "Sure you do. What do you have in those pockets?" "A handful of crumpled $1 bills and some copper wire." At the reception desk, Sarah felt her stomach turn. She hated the way Chad treated people who didn't look rich. She stood up and walked over, holding a warm paper cup. "Excuse me, sir," Sarah said gently to John. "Would you like some hot coffee while you look? It is very cold outside." John looked at Sarah, and his eyes softened. He gave her a warm, genuine smile. "That would be lovely, miss." "Thank you for your kindness," John said. Before John could take the cup, Chad stepped in between them. "Sarah, get back to your desk," Chad barked. "Do not waste our premium coffee on loiterers." "But Chad, he is a customer," Sarah protested quietly. "He is a vagrant," Chad corrected her. "And if you want to keep your job, you will listen to your manager. Go. Now." Sarah looked at John apologetically, her eyes filling with tears of embarrassment. John gave her a small nod, silently telling her it was okay. She retreated to her desk, feeling helpless. Chad turned his attention back to John. "Look, old man," Chad said, checking his gold watch again. "I have real clients coming in 10 minutes. Clients who spend 6 figures. I do not want them smelling wet dog and old grease when they walk in." John looked down at his jacket. It was an M65 field jacket from the Vietnam era. It had a patch on the shoulder that was faded, but still visible to anyone who knew what to look for. "This jacket has been through a lot," John said softly. "It might smell of grease, but it kept me warm when nothing else could." "I do not care about your sob story," Chad waved his hand dismissively. I served my country, John said, a hint of steel entering his voice. I think I deserve enough respect to at least ask a question about a vehicle. Respect is bought in the real world, Chad scoffed. You want respect? Go buy a suit. Go take a shower. Then maybe, just maybe, I will let you look at a brochure. John took a deep breath. He had faced enemy fire in the jungles of Vietnam in 1969. He had raised 3 children on his own after his wife passed away. He had built a successful farm from nothing but dirt and sweat. He was not going to be intimidated by a boy in a shiny suit. You judge a book by its cover, John said, looking Chad directly in the eyes. That is a dangerous mistake to make in business, and in life. Are you threatening me? Chad asked, his voice rising an octave. I am educating you, John replied. I have money. I want to buy that white truck. The sticker says $85,000. I can write a check right now. We do not accept checks from people like you, Chad spat. They bounce. Just like you need to bounce out of my store. Chad pointed to the door. Leave. Now. Or I call the police. John did not move. He planted his feet firmly on the ground. I will leave when I am ready, John said. Or when I speak to the owner. Chad's face turned red with anger. I run this floor, Chad yelled. I am the authority here. You are trespassing. Other customers in the dealership were starting to look over. A couple looking at a convertible whispered to each other, looking uncomfortable. Chad realized he was causing a scene, but his ego would not let him back down. He felt challenged, and he needed to win. Fine, Chad said, pulling out his walkie-talkie. Have it your way, Grandpa. He pressed the button on the side of the radio. Security to the showroom floor. Immediately. We have a hostile vagrant refusing to leave. John shook his head slowly. You are making a big mistake, son, John said calmly. Stop calling me son. Chad shouted. Security will drag you out by your collar if they have to. 2 large security guards in black uniforms appeared from the back hallway. They looked tough, with utility belts and stern faces. Chad smiled triumphantly. Gentlemen, Chad said, pointing a finger at John's chest. Take this trash out to the curb. And make sure he doesn't come back. The guards hesitated for a second. They saw an old man, clearly a veteran, standing peacefully. He is disturbing the peace and harassing customers, Chad lied loudly. Remove him. The lead guard stepped forward. Sir, the guard said to John. You need to come with us. John looked at the guard, then back at Chad. I fought for freedom, John said, his voice carrying across the silent showroom. I fought so people could live without fear. It breaks my heart to see that freedom used to belittle others. Save the speech for the pigeons outside, Chad sneered. Get him out. The guard reached out and grabbed John's arm. It was not a gentle grip. John winced slightly, the pain flaring up in his old shoulder injury. Easy now, John said. I can walk. Move it, the guard grunted, pulling him toward the door. Sarah, the receptionist, stood up again, unable to watch. Stop it. You are hurting him, she cried out. Sit down, Sarah, Chad yelled back. Or you are fired too. Just as the guards were about to push John through the sliding glass doors, a scene began to unfold outside. Through the rain-streaked windows, a long, sleek black limousine pulled up to the curb. It was a Lincoln Town car, distinct and authoritative. It parked right in front of the entrance, blocking the way. The driver's door opened, and a chauffeur with an umbrella stepped out. He hurried to the back door of the limousine. Chad paused, looking out the window. He knew that car. Every employee at the dealership knew that car. It belonged to Mr. Henderson, the owner of the entire dealership chain. Mr. Henderson was a legend in the city, a man of immense wealth and power. He rarely visited the individual branches, usually only coming for annual inspections or high-level firings. Chad's arrogance suddenly turned into panic. He fixed his tie quickly and ran a hand through his hair. Hold on, Chad told the guards. Hold him right there. Do not let him leave yet. I don't want the boss seeing a homeless man wandering around outside. Chad thought he could spin this. He would tell the owner he was just protecting the brand. The back door of the limousine opened. A man in a sharp navy blue suit stepped out. It was Mr. Henderson, looking serious and focused. He ignored the chauffeur's umbrella and walked briskly toward the glass doors, getting rain on his expensive suit. Chad put on his biggest, fakest smile and rushed toward the door to greet the owner. Mr. Henderson. What a surprise! Chad exclaimed, opening his arms. We were just taking care of a small issue with the trespasser, but... Chad stopped mid-sentence. Mr. Henderson walked right past Chad as if he didn't even exist. He didn't even look at his top sales manager. His eyes were locked on something else. Or rather, someone else. Mr. Henderson walked straight up to the two security guards holding John. The showroom fell completely silent. Everyone watched, waiting to see the owner yell at the old man. Chad smirked, expecting the final blow to John's dignity. But then, the impossible happened. Mr. Henderson, the billionaire owner of the company, stopped 3 feet in front of the ragged old man. He stood up straighter than anyone had ever seen him stand. He brought his right hand up to his brow in a crisp, sharp military salute. General, Mr. Henderson said, his voice trembling with emotion. The security guards froze. Chad's jaw dropped. John, the old man in the dirty jacket, slowly straightened his posture. The tiredness seemed to vanish from his eyes, replaced by the commanding gaze of a leader. He returned the salute slowly but perfectly. At ease, Lieutenant, John said softly. The silence in the room was deafening. This was not just a homeless man. And Chad was about to realize that he had just made the biggest mistake of his life.